Welcome to all of my combo lords joining me there. We are in my room today, but not because of the rain. Today we're in my room because it is the last live stream of grade -1, and filming the stuff takes a little advance work, so I've already prepared the classroom set for grade -2. And there are some surprises in there, some things I need to keep secret for the time being. And so we are not going to mostly be visiting the classroom, although depending how quickly it gets dark, I will consider letting us take a nighttime, not very lit up visit out there just to get a glimmer of a thing or two, but only if it's dark quickly tonight, because, or if the stream lasts long enough, because we can't get too good of a peek until grade -2's intro and a few little sneak preview clues that I put in the finale of grade -1, which wasn't really the final exam I put out. That, although it has final in the name, it wasn't my intention for the end of this whole grade -1 experience here in combo class. My intention, I only came up with that combo class finale, the exam, or the final exam part of it, a few weeks before the final exam. I thought, maybe let's do a twist on the fact that although I've been pretty good at tests, I don't always like them. Maybe I can make a test that I like. That was a more last minute decision in comparison to I'd been thinking for a while that at the end of grade -1, I might put together some sort of documentary of the process of making it, mixed with finishing off whatever loose ends there were for as far as running gags or other little unfulfilled things that I had mentioned earlier in the grade. And so I had thought for a while maybe I'll put together some documentary of sorts, and then March hit, and it was like, well, it's time to do this if I want to do this. And although it is difficult to put together something like that, it ended up being more than 30 minutes. I'm not sure how long it's going to be, but the final episode will be pretty long and cool. And although it was difficult to put together in some ways, if you want to do something like that, you can achieve it. I put it together on free editing software with a few $100s in a few weeks with a few dozen hours of work, including a lot of editing and a lot of filming. And we're going to have a fun little documentary of sorts. I didn't even know exactly at first what direction to take it because there's been so many wild things that have happened in my life and even in the past few years. But I mostly skimmed over the things that happened more than a year ago, although we got some brief mentions. But about a year ago was when I was first cooking up grade -1, started filming it a little more than a year ago and releasing it a little less than a year ago. And so within that year, I have gotten 2 surgeries. A lot of crazy stuff has happened on the set in the yard. I have gone from no videos posted to having sort of a whole community growing here. And I'm getting, for the other channel, the Domotro channel, they're sending me one of those play buttons in the mail because that channel's past 100,000 subscribers. And so that's just crazy that that's all happening in grade -1. I've quit my day job because while I'm still living at home, I have low, like I'm currently living with my parents and brother. Partially due to getting surgeries, partially due to wanting to invest my money into the combo class. And while I'm doing that, I have low expenses, and so I've been able to quit my day job and focus just on the support from Patreon here and the YouTube ads to be able to fund what's going to be grade -2 coming up, and even have more time and more budget than I had before to put together cooler stuff. Be able to have sometimes cooler camera shots that I've wanted to experimentally get, but didn't have the time or ability to get in the past. We'll try and get some better audio quality on some things in grade -2, including probably on the live streams. And we will try to, despite having new upgrade type things mixed in, not lose any of our good old natural chaos. And Sage here wants to head out. This right now is live. I just don't always answer the chat right away, but I do check it at times. And to check our chat right now, what is up to all of you? Numbers are so cool. And graphs that look like slime, someone mentioned. And if you meant the one in the thumbnail, that one did look like slime a bit once I iterated. That was 2 graphs layered. I mean, it's one graph, but there were 2 equations on there of different colors. And we'll look at both of those. In a moment, I will whip up some graphs. And in fact, just since it helps people want to hang around more and draw people in, we will whip together one of those first graphs, which will be the one that I called last time. Well, first of all, what are we doing? The family of graphs we were looking at here was when we took something to the power of a trigonomic function or trigonometric function, such as sines and cosines and tangents and such. And if I take something like this, I get an interesting web. And if I make an inequality, it gets colored in. These are the coordinates colored in that x to the power of sine y is more than or equal to y to the power of sine x. And I will get to the other comments. People, if you feel free to leave questions, just don't expect me to get to them right away. And this graph we will start off with as I go through some more chat, and then we will evolve it into some other stages, such as the one I mentioned. That's just one evolution on this that looked like what I called a burger factory. Might sound too specific to be one graph, but trust me, this thing looks like a burger factory when we pull it up. So what is grade -1? That is the first era of combo class here. Combo class being really started as my other channel, which has my main series of combo class, which grade -1 is easiest to measure on. It's sort of the first series or season or whatever you could say on there. By season, I mean more like season of a TV show's used, not like a season of a year. And it's sort of the first year or so-ish of combo class, the first arc of my strange videos that I wanted to make, as well as this era of my life and all the content that has come out on this channel. And it is a grade because here we do a lot of strange learning, so might as well categorize a grade worth of learning as a grade instead of just calling it a year or something. Schools often have grades. They don't often have negative grades. But much like you're used to grade 1 going to grade 2, we are going in terms of magnitude or absolute value. Similarly, we're going from grade -1 to grade -2. Now, feel free to leave any other questions, but I will, for now, be upgrading some graphs for a moment. And, by the way, just to finish the first thought I mentioned, that whole finale episode I mentioned, the documentary I did end up putting together, will be coming out on the other combo class channel as the 36th, or if we ever switch to base 6, it'll look like episode 100. It'll look like the number 100 in base 6. The 36th episode on there, and it will be coming out tomorrow, about 24 hours from now. Sometime between, sometime between 15 and 30 hours from now, about 24. And so I know that's right at the end of March, but I did want to get it in during March, and then we can consider April the official, in a way, the beginning of grade -2, although we're going to, similar to how this finale is going to mark the official end of grade -1, it's not going to be until the next episode on the main combo class channel, which will be a welcome to grade -2, that grade -2 will be officially starting. The bell has rung. Until then, we'll have 1 to 2 weeks that we can consider our early to grade -2 weeks. where it's sort of like, right now we're at that last day of school type thing. Well, there will be at the when you show up a little before the bell type thing. And then I want to have grade -2 out sometime before April 11th, the official intro episode, because that will still be within less than a year that any combo class footage was online. Now, Burger Factory, yes, we only have to make one modification. All we have to do is put this right hand side in a sign itself. Oh no. And, oh no. There. No. This is too small. I keep hitting the X when I'm trying to hit the go there. Okay. Now, let's zoom in a bit and see why I call this Burger Factory. Over here, you get your blobs. Here you get your burger generators where they're packing together some ingredients on these machines. And then when you go down a bit, you get burgers. Look, here's to those who like a burger with 4 ingredients in between the buns. Like you just got, this is maybe like if you just had a burger, cheese, and onion, and some lettuce, and that's all. Call it a day. Here's if you got 6 ingredients in your burger. Here we got an 8 ingredient burger, and so on. We also were able to modify the shapes and sizes of our burgers by throwing in some coefficients. Like we're just gonna, for example, A, B, C. So these are just examples of some places we could put them. And I can here distort the burgers a bit. Here we got like a different type of sandwich thingy going on. These look pretty neat to eat. Ooh, yeah, that guy has an interesting type of, some type of food in there. And, ooh, uh-oh, you go too far, you lose your burgers. Here, B, we could add some slices. This is if you want to add ingredients to each burger, but if you watch out, they melt up into the machine. Got to be over here to play it safe with this B. Ooh, yeah, now you got a burger with a ton of ingredients there. Next, what does C do, which was up there? Remember that we're putting these all in spots that multiply so that if their value is 1, that doesn't change anything. So having them all going at the same time, really only the one that isn't 1 is what's affecting it. So how about C? What did that do? Whoa! Okay, you go too far. Your burger goes crazy. Look at this burger. Now, it is individual slices, but there are so many ingredients. There's like, whoa! There's like a tuna salad sandwich or something. That's when it all gets ground up. So, don't these look kind of like burgers? All right, so where can we go next? Well, if anybody fiddles around on their own, you can always be fiddling around on Desmos on your own while I do this. Feel free to leave in the chat other variations that you think make a good sandwich. Or any cool type of shape that you think resembles something cool. I've always been a fan of looking for when the graphs resemble something in nature or in the world. They sometimes look like eyes or like flowers or stuff or bugs. But this is the first time I saw a burger. So let's now see how we could do some more modifications to this. I'm going to remove these coefficients and go back to the classic Burger Factory. And one obvious way you could think to change this would be to put, we've always tried putting tangent instead of signs. And we're going to try substituting each of those with a tangent one at a time. That makes it a little too flat. There's like the back room at the Burger Factory where they're pressing out the buns. Up here, ooh, this is like bowls of salad or something. See, you got your bowl and your salad. Or maybe there's open face sandwiches. If like you got those burgers before, these are some open face sandwiches. Got some, there you got like a bagel, and you got some lox and some thin slices of onion, and then you stacked like some sprouts on top of it. So now to a degree, it is a coincidence that things on graphs look like other things, and there's three factors at play. One is that if we look at enough graphs, coincidence will let us find some ones that look like things. Another thing at play is that humans see things in other things. We see faces in things. It's an evolutionary trait that helps. We see food in things, probably evolutionarily too. It really helped us spot food in the wild. But there's a third factor at play, which is that maybe the things in our physical world obey similar conditions, whether due to gravity or due to natural selection over time or other factors that the equations like. So, someone's mentioning that there was a cool one that made a ton of X's, and they said it looked like it had parachute straps. That's a good little way of viewing it. A lot of them have made some cool X's and O's, and we'll see if we stumble onto any of those today. What we're going to try next after our open face... Well, let's see if we also switch this with tangent, though. It might be too crazy. Yeah, here you got like... Oh, these look like kind of good bowls of salad, but they're kind of all connected. Now, this is like if you're at some really cheap, like, cafeteria hall at school, and you're all sitting next to each other eating your identical foods. Although they're not really necessarily identical here. There's probably little variations. Now, what if we just switch that one with tangent? This is pretty cool. This may not be edible, but it looks pretty neat. Some of these get glitched out by the graph having too much to think about. So you have to zoom in to kind of get a sense for them, and then you can zoom out and be okay with the glitchiness. Now, these are starting to be pretty neat. And there's another way we could take these variations, which is I could also put sign on the other side. And if I put sign on both sides, I get this, which was part of that web in the thumbnail. And this one's pretty neat. It looks all glitched out if you're back here. But if you zoom in, you can see like, okay, there's a lot going on here. You got this one graph, one equation. And you got this whole zone. Look, you got this little spirally thing coiling backward and looping and making these little bits where the inequality does or doesn't hold. And here you got all these different chambers. You got like a little bubble there. There's another little weird bubble. And as you go over here, you get these really intricate zones like this. And over here, they get more and more detailed. You have to zoom in more and more to actually get the graph to understand them. Like, by the time we get over here, you got to zoom in to actually see what's going on there. It looks like this. So that's pretty wild. Let's go to a pretty far one out here. Going diagonally, so they'll kind of mutate in a similar way. We can follow the diagonal by seeing that these diagonal ones all have this straight line going through them. Whereas these ones look more like hourglasses of different sorts. Now, what's going on if we zoom into this one? Wow. That's neat. Wonder what this other graph's doing all the way out there at that scale. Oh, not observable. Oh, we were in between burger machines. What happens when we do overlay the two graphs? Oh, things fit inside other things. A lot of times when we create a variation of one graph and then you overlay it with it, you get things fitting in other things at certain spots. So that's pretty neat. Now, there's another one that I found that was actually what was overlaid with it in the thumbnail, which was, now let's try replacing some more with tangents. So I'll copy this, save it over there for later. Now we're purple, and we're going to replace some of these one at a time with tangent. And here, when I made this one, I was like, hey, the burgers are back. This is a different type of burger factory. Now the burgers are like in different slots between these surreal things. So here you just got some loaves of bread. Here you're starting to get to Burgerland. There's your 4-ingredient burger. There's your 6-ingredient burger, but now they're in between these crazy things. Now as we go up, we start to get these really dense burgers. Now let's go back and throw some of those similar coefficients onto this that we did last time. So there's a lot of places now we could put a coefficient. We could put like A, B, C, and there's even more. We'll just, okay, D, E, there's even more. If I could have put it in here. Oh no! G, H. So there's so many places we could edit these burgers from. Now, let's go back to where was... Wait, something got changed here. Oh, that made a fancy... Is that right? That's just how they write the F's. Something changed this here. There we go. What's going on there? Oh, E can't be a slider. E assumes you want to mean the number E. That's funny. E is such a common classic mathematical constant like pi that I kept being like, why did this change it? They're all set to 1. And I was thinking I must be doing something dumb. But it's that E isn't even being a slider set to 1. E is being the number E, which isn't 1 at all. It's about 2.7. Okay. Can't call one of them E. I can't call one of them I either, I'm assuming, even though maybe... Okay, yeah. They don't allow imaginary numbers here, so they do let me call one I. So... Now, these are tons of places we could edit our burgers from. So we're just going to look at a few. We could overlay these. And that's what I mean by try and find your own ideal burger somewhere in the wild. Your ideal sandwich or other food in one of these. By theoretically overlaying a few of these set to different values. I'm only tweaking one at a time. This is when we crunch our burgers lower. And we make more of them this way. You see, here, like this machine stops there. And get like about 3 burgers under there. But as I crank this up, we start pounding out all these little burgers. And you get some thin ones too. So if you ever want a super like this is a smash burger. You know those ones where they smash them real small? So that's a setting to do if you want your burgers flatter. Here we'll see we got settings to do if you want to add ingredients, but you need more room to have room for that. And this makes that curly type of ingredient get added in the middle. The one that looks like a curved thing. And this setting makes the burgers thinner this way. So if you want your burgers smaller by all dimensions, you could crank this one up and the burger flattener. And now this is practically like crackers with some cheese and salami between it. So... Now we're on to super tiny little like appetizers. That's because we cranked up the burger shrinker on both dimensions. This sounds so ridiculous to be describing this, but it looks like that. These were just getting in the way, but I guess I needed them there. I'm just going to remove the ones we already messed with. And we're going to try the others. Now I need to plug this in. Let's see. Oh, I need to grab my charger from right out here. Oh, by the way, to anybody who didn't see the last streams but was wondering, I am in between lab coats due to it being the final episode of the grade, but it's not because I have no lab coats. I have two. I have a fresh one for grade -2 that's waiting for that, and I have an extra burnt one from the last grade, and you'll have to see why it's extra burnt in the finale. So, here we got our meals with math, like someone said. Thank you to everybody dropping by, and let's try shifting a few other parameters. Now these, I haven't even been paying as much attention to the things in between, but these are pretty wild too. Those are like some tables to sit at or some walls or something at the burger restaurant, but pretty wild. So this one mutates them in different ways. And this one connects them more. So then this is if you want to make more machines and less of the actual burgers. In fact, at this point, are there going to be any? Yeah, these are getting a little thinner. At some point, if we go far enough down the line, we'll get to another pinched off burger. However, at this point on the graph, it's just the machines. So, a few more coefficients we could try just with this one type of graph. This is making them pretty flat or wide. We can always go the other way. Whoa. So that's a wide, thin sort of sandwich. And this one, again, sort of shrinks or connects them. And this one, that one already got vanished, I guess, by accident. This one, oh yeah, they all got cleared by this point. So, now, that was just switching one of these to a tangent. We could also have switched other components within there, such as the inner one to a tangent, and we'd get this wacky thing. And we also could have switched both of them, in which case we get that, or other combinations of them, like there, there. Ooh, this one's pretty cool. This one is super dense in a different way. You get all these patterns. They look like they're overlapping in a slightly askew way. See, like, look at that weird little overlap and anti-overlap. Yeah, look at this, like, tiny little overlappy thing right there. That's interesting. Alright, that's wild looking. And we could also have done multiple of them. This is if all of them have it. And that's a little too chaotic. So, to switch some of them back, one of the last ones we didn't try is if both of the base ones are tan and both of the exponent ones are sine. And that gives us this. And there are, of course, other ways we could take this. All of that was simply just from investigations on taking the burger factory and switching out some signs with tangents, or multiplying certain things by certain constants instead of one. Now, of course, there's other ways we could go about this. I could craft whole other things out of this right here. For example, let's simplify this again a bit and take this as a grounding point of other places we could go from here. One simple one would be to replace some of these with other types of thing, or to add other x's and y's instead of coefficients. If we add things like that, we get much stranger changes, but we have to be careful how we do it to not have everything shoot a certain direction too powerfully. Now, one way we could do that is by, well, actually, let's try something here. Let's try simplifying some of this to have maybe, let's see how simple, whoa, that's really low. Something like that looks. It already has some stuff going on, so we'll work from, and what if that equals 0? Well, that'll be our working off point, these weird stripes. Because now we have a much simpler thing, and the computer won't freak out if we add a few things to it. For example, here we could add x or y instead of it being 0. We could have something like x plus y there, and whoa, we get this strange downward wave. Or x minus y, in which case we get an upward wave. Or x times y, in which case it looks like most of the plane is filled, but we have these little missing bits. Now, we also could have a constant that's less than, and this will stretch these types of things. And this whole interesting way you could take these equations is to have your x and your y on the same side, and just have even something like 0 on the other side. Now, what if on over here we start trying some other things mixed in apart from all of it being sign-based? What if we put something like a square root? What if we put that under the square root? And it's not liking that being any of the points. We need a to be more than 0. That's because, yeah, the square root. Now these can connect and separate in different ways. Sort of neat. Now that we've got the square roots working, maybe we will mix some x's and y's back into the picture over here. Like, maybe we have the y to the sine of x. I will bring back to see how that plays with the square root. What if I put a square root on there too? Well, now we're left to something similar. So, we're going to switch gears in a minute. Let me take a look at the questions, though. And by switch gears, we'll mostly still have our graphs going, because today we can't get too much of a look at the combo classroom, if any. Some secret things out there, some surprises for next grade. So, in the meantime, you can also feel free to leave any questions or thoughts in the comments. Our stream today will probably just be about an hour, maybe slightly more than an hour. And it will also include, like the other Thursday streams, a puzzle, which we've been doing these weekly puzzles, somewhat related to the Combo Class Discord, but also something I've been mentioning in the streams. And to anyone who's around now, I will note that, like I mentioned in the description here also, next month I will be pretty busy on filming grade -2 stuff, and won't be doing the Thursday live streams every week as a scheduled thing, which I was doing in March. I will be doing one at the same time on Mondays. That will fit in a little better to the April schedule at least. So in April, if you want a steady streaming time, although I will definitely have other random ones throughout the week, I enjoy doing it, so there will be random streams, but the one that will be scheduled to be at a specific time at the same time every week during April will be Monday at this time. And I will also be doing other ones at other times of my day to have other time zones of people be able to join. All right. Now, I'll check the chat again in a little bit. For now, let's try one other cool type of variation we could do. Well, to the person who asked what website this is and what time is it there, it is 6:37 here at p.m. and or some would call it 1937, and the website is called Desmos and is a super good free website. This isn't sponsored by them or anything, but I recommend it. They are a good free graphing calculator, and I've heard some other people recommend also one that I've seen some good videos using called GeoGebra, which I've fiddled around with only once or twice, so I will sometime pull that up on stream and fiddle around with that one instead to see the pros and cons. But this is a fun website because very simple interface, and I don't like technology or know a huge amount about working different programming things. So this makes it very simple if you just know how to type a math equation to be able to see visual stuff. Speaking of which, let's remember that not only are graphs cool for looking at really fun stuff like this, but they can also help us visualize the actual answers or facts behind certain algebraic things. If I ever have something related to two numbers, for example, I might be able to graph that on a 2-axis graph, which this one is. So if I was wondering, for example, what two numbers have, are there any two numbers that if you multiply them, you get the same as the difference of their squares? Well, I could be like, all right, let's see. X times y equals x squared minus y squared. Now, the harder thing would be if I asked, are there any whole numbers that do this? Because then we're in, a common land of number theory where you're wondering if something that is graphable has an infinite amount or what amount of whole number solutions or rational solutions or things like that. And then you can't always solve that with the graph. But if I just needed to give some example of what type of points might fit this, I can see the behavior of them. The points that fit this definition fall in these different lines. And for example, there's a solution at 20 and about 12.36, which means approximately 20 times 12.36 is equal to 20 squared minus 12.36 squared, approximately. Similarly, we saw in an episode what numbers, this was a simpler one, but we already did an episode about this on the main combo class channel, what numbers have a product the same as their sum, and in the 2-number case, your numbers fall on these lines. Although there's only one solution that they're both positive integers, which is that one, 2, 2. There are other solutions where they're both rational, though. Like there, 5 and 5/4. So, a lot of fun stuff you can do with graphs. And additionally, of course, you can just find really cool patterns and shapes. To get a reminder of one or two of my favorite graphs we've seen on streams, for anyone who hasn't seen some of the older streams, one of my favorites was one that I did make a bonus video on here too, but I'll show it real quick. If we take our circle equation and we put sine around these parts, then and let's make an inequality because it'll look extra fun. Then let's make it this type of inequality, actually, facing that way. And these are all contained in that graph, just with these different values of a. Very simple equation for these whole landscapes, which is the circle equation with a little change. And another one that I have written on my, I'm looking back there because they're written on my wall, just these two, because they were so cool when I saw them in a stream, and I was like, I have to put that on my wall. And maybe the Burger Factory will deserve to get on there at some point, but we'll have to confirm that it's the best looking Burger Factory. So, sine of x times sine of y is less than or equal to sine of x over y. This is another one I really liked. Uh-oh, this got messed up. And this one, we get this whole wacky pattern. So that's pretty neat. A lot going on there. Yeah, so a lot of classics here. We'll do some episodes that are more full episodes on the main combo class channel at some point. Before too long. Cool. We will also have other sorts of little animations at times in grade -2. I'm working with an animator to animate some cool sorts of what are known as polygonal numbers and even what are known as polyhedral numbers. So those will be neat to include in an episode. And taking a look at our comments for a moment. Someone's mentioning about when you put sand on a plate and you vibrate it. That's cool. I don't have any device or any sort that does that, but I've seen videos where with the right ripples of sound, you can create a lot of shapes, and that sand is a good medium for the ripples to be visible in. And there's a lot of relationships between music and numbers, and also just between noise and numbers. And in fact, many things similar to this actually show up in music. So, a lot of fun things going on here. Let's look at a few more variations that we could try over here. Now, one wacky sort of variation we've thrown in is to throw in mod as a thing here, which is similar to how I discuss mod to mean within number theory, but this is their language for like x mod 2, and we can see that there's graphing for each x coordinate, it in mod 2, but they're letting all the remainders. They're letting like fractional stuff. So if I said something mod 1, it would be basically the thing's remainder. I mean, it's what it has after the decimal. And so, or its non-integer component. And this is slightly different now than when we normally talk about mod, because we normally talk about it in a number theory context where you're only looking at whole numbers a lot of the time. But here, we are looking at in-between values as well, because it makes it fun on the graph. And we could try things like putting sine of x in a mod. We can see like what happens if you put, and this is assuming it means equals y on that side. We could put that in a mod of y. That made something really low and nothingy. Put it in mod of x. Ooh, whoa, that's interesting. They're all either clinging to the axis or flying up that line. And we could make these inequalities like before and get weird regions. Some of these even really simple mod ones were quite neat. Like if we did like, here's like x in mod y equals y in mod 1. And you get a lot of regions on here that are like dotted, which I think means that some of the points on there are solutions, but not all of them. and like that if you kept zooming in, there might be, no matter what scale you're on, points that are and aren't solutions. That's what it looks like to me, at least. Now, these look like spider webs in a way. So you can do a lot of interesting spider webby variations. If I try the square root of x in mod 1 is y. What's that? What about sine of x again is y? We get these fellas. These are interesting. What's with that line right there? Where'd that line go? That was weird. So, a lot of interesting variations of the mod thing, and so we could try putting that on the more tricky ones, even though it might glitch out the system. Like here was this cool graph that wasn't too complicated, so I could say, well, what if this side is that mod 1? Well, now we get this thing, these zones. Oh, you know, they're still not too far from what our burgers looked like. These are interesting. Looks like some, like, bat or something. Should use this as, like, a Batman logo. Yeah, these totally look like bats hanging in little caves. Look, we got some animals now in addition to our food. These bats got a lot of wings, though. Don't go to that part of the cave. Alright, now let's try some of the other stuff we had here as possibilities. Oh, okay, this will really maybe trip it out too much, but let's try if we put that instead of in mod 1, in mod X. This part looks normal, and then this part has weirdness. Alright. Now, what if we try not mod 1, but a constant mod, but that's a different size? This is like the... Oh, whoa. Oh my god, look. It's an egg that hatches a bat. You want to see? Look. There's an egg right there. This egg's about to hatch a bat. There, made a little... Well, now, that's when the bat has its head one way, and that's when the bat puts its head another way. I don't know. Look, totally an egg that hatches a creature. The egg hatches a bat. That's wild. And here you get these mega bat things. Alright, now, what if we try putting it on this side as well? That definitely at this point might be too much for the computer to handle. Oh, it did it. Now we get things going in all directions. Now even this close to the origin, you gotta zoom in a lot to try and get the scale. Well, there's like a lot of little ants walking along the edge of this one. What's up with all those little ants? Alright, so a lot of cool stuff going on in there. So I'm going to peek back at our chat, and in not too long we are going to switch over to doing the stuff about the puzzle, because today's stream will probably be not much more than an hour, but that's mostly because I need to get back to editing that cool episode coming out tomorrow, which I will make sure is out sometime tomorrow. In the meantime, too, for anyone who needs to see some more cool content, make sure to catch the last few random bonus videos I put out that are answers in a few parts to the test questions of the final exam, where not only do I give the answer, but we also go into some problem-solving tips and tricks that you could use to solve them. So those are bonus videos I put out recently on this channel. All right. Well, thank you all for the comments, and I'm going to switch over to mentioning the puzzle now, while I'm sure I'll have time. And let me see. What's going on there? I'm pulling up the Discord to get that information because I'm working with my main Discord mod, the Magic Fellow, has been putting together the puzzle section on there. And so if you want to answer any of these puzzles, which I'm not going to mention the new one until right at the end of the stream, but you can always go there to answer the new ones when they come out, which is shortly after the streams when I mention them. And those, typically when I have time, I will shout out the people who got the last one correct. And the last week's puzzle was, what is special about a particular number? And the number itself was 854917632. Those are the digits. And the answer is that all of the numbers that are digits in here are, in the language we are currently using, in alphabetical order. And also true is that they are divisible by most numbers from 1 through 9. They're divisible by all of those except 7. So it's also, or that's what it says here, can only be divided by everything but 7, was part of the answer supplied by the first person to get that, who got the main part about all the numbers are in alphabetical order, which is, I believe it's pronounced Pokemon Hacks, which it's spelled PKMNHX43. So, good job to that person on the Discord. And in a little bit, right when I'm fully wrapping up the stream in a moment, I will let you folks know the new puzzle. Now, puzzles are always fun. That's similar to why I made the final exam, because some of those I thought could be some good problem-solving opportunities, and a lot of good puzzles are different sorts of problem-solving, you could say, or different ways of challenging the brain that, to me, can sometimes show not that everyone is smart at every type of puzzle, but they can reveal an interesting type of intelligence, or sometimes even perseverance, just by the willingness to think through them to the answer, that might prove more intelligence and perseverance than something like memorization, because it can even be trickier to solve a puzzle than to memorize something. Now, with that said, other good resources, if you ever want to look up more puzzles of your own, include the authors Martin Gardner and the author Raymond Smullyan. Those are some good mathematical writers who have included a lot of puzzles in their stuff. And in a moment, I'm going to wrap up the stream after saying the new puzzles, so let me remind everyone once again that tomorrow, in about 24 hours or a little less, or possibly a little more, but it'll be tomorrow in my day sometime, will be coming the last main content, last official content of grade -1, a whole documentary / adventure that will be like 35 minutes or so, at least 30 minutes. But anyone who does like my stuff, please watch it all at some point within a week or two of it dropping. I'll leave a little time before I put out another one on that channel. But well, the intro to the next season will be coming out a week or two later, but not before that. And so at some point, watch that as if you'd watch a short film, maybe, because put a lot of effort and energy to it. It means a lot to me because it tells some important stories from my life, some very rare behind the scenes footage that none of you have seen yet, and more squirrels than ever, as well as, of course, falling whiteboards and clocks and fires and such, and floods and cats and all the classics. So make sure to check that out either when it drops tomorrow on the Combo Class channel or at some point within a week or so when you have time. I will also be live again on this channel on Monday, like I mentioned, at the same time I started this one, 6 p.m. And that will be the stream that you can know I'll be doing throughout April. There will be other random ones, but definitely on Mondays at that time. 6 p.m. my time, which is Pacific time. And with that said, I'm going to go to the new puzzle, and then I will look at any last comments people have, so you can always leave any final questions or thoughts. This new one is known as the ship/dock puzzle. You are given, and there is some credits to it as to who designed it, but I will mention those so that don't try and look it up. It's really for your own intelligence, so looking it up wouldn't help you. But just to encourage people not to look it up, we'll just say the puzzle for now, and then mention more details in the answer to it next week. And this puzzle is, with the word ship, you can change one letter at a time, and you must get a new valid 4-letter word based on, if you need a definition for valid 4-letter word, you could say the Scrabble dictionary for the game Scrabble that's letter-based, but you could also just, for your own answer, to try and get it, just to think through it, whatever you're pretty sure is a valid word, that's a valid 4-letter word, and that you think would be in the Scrabble dictionary, and you change one letter at a time, getting to a new valid word each stage, and you end up at the word dock. You got to get the ship to the dock. And there could be more than one solution, but there are some things that all solutions have in common, and here's there's actually, the puzzle isn't just to find one way of doing this. There are many ways you can do this, turning ship to dock. For example, a solution is like, you can say ship goes to slip, goes to slop, goes to slot, goes to soot, goes to loot, goes to look, goes to lock, goes to dock. But you can find alternatives, but the puzzle isn't just to find a few. The puzzle is to prove that all the solutions possible have a certain thing in common, that at least one of the words in between ship and dock must contain at least 2 vowels. So ship and dock have 1 vowel each. but if you turn one letter into the next, one letter at a time, getting a valid word at every stage, going from ship to dock in as many stages as you need. What you need to do for the puzzle is prove in a logical way. You don't have to write a mathematical type of proof, but a logical reasoning that's a proof of why all ways of going from ship to dock, where you pass real words at each stage that would be in the Scrabble dictionary, must have in between some stage that a word that has more than one vowel. So the puzzle is to prove it in some way. And that will also be written down in the Discord, which will be the section there is run by the Magic Fellow, my mod there, so that is cool, and has some other good previous puzzles, and there's also just a lot of other good chatting there, so make sure to check that out if you ever use Discord or just like chatting with combo people, because I don't use Discord apart from that one, apart from the combo class one. There's also other cool links in the description, such as the Patreon for extra helpful people, which does have cool bonus footage as well, and the subreddit, and of course the main channel, the one called Combo Class, which I often call the main channel because even though this one has more subscribers, that one is where I put my best finished projects. So make sure to be tuned into that channel, especially for tomorrow's finale episode. And I will catch you folks again on the Monday live stream, or possibly sooner, but I might vanish for a few days just to let the finale sink in until Monday. So we'll have to see if I drop any content in between the finale and then. Then we'll be back to a lot of fun stuff in grade -2. We'll be back to having new shorts in addition to the episodes, and a lot of cool bonus videos. A lot of fun stuff planned. Magic Fellow mentions cannot wait for April Fools, and I can't either. April Fools is awesome, and with April Fools, I wanted to do something, and actually, yeah, I'm going to need to do something for April Fools. So there will be something that I'll do for April Fools that probably will have to come out that day. So I'll have to think about it, but very likely I will put something out on Saturday, which is April Fool's Day, but on this channel, because I wasn't quite ready to put the new grade intro episode on April Fools like I was thinking I might. That will be a week or two into April, because this finale is coming out right at the end of March. But since April Fool's Day is such a cool holiday, it is very likely I will have to put out something on this channel for April Fool's Day. So now that I see that noted, that is a good reminder. April Fool's Day is also very fun. I'm going to make sure to prank some of my friends. If you guys do any pranks, keep them light, and make sure that they're for the sake of, perplexing someone more than making someone's day hard. And with that said, it's a great holiday. So, thank you all for joining me here today. After the stream posts, if you ever find your own graphs in the next day or two, leave them as a comment and I'll take a peek. Or you can always send those to me like on the subreddit or Discord. A lot more cool graphs we'll look at in the future. Until then, hope you all have a very nice day or night, whatever time it is for you folks. And I'm going to get back to some editing. I will see you in the next one.